Welcome, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Green Truck Records podcast. I'm your host, Cale Hunter. This is my guest, Shelby Cobra, the other half of Cobra Hunter. Today, we're going to be talking about Blue Jean Time Machine, our second single from our debut album, which is by far the best name out of any song on the record.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Okay, do you remember how we came up with that? Just the hook in that song and that song title?
The song title, I think, was the same kind of thing where you had sent me a file, right? And it just was named Blue Jean Time Machine because you're probably looking at your laundry, or maybe you just watched Hot Tub Time Machine. I don't know how your brain works, Cale.
I don't either. I really don't, because I don't have much of a stop, like a quality control check between there and there. So sometimes really stupid stuff comes out. And in that particular case, I literally, the night before, we were out with my family at like a park event, like a local thing where there's a bunch of people in a park or whatever. And I could tell that some lady was wearing jeans that she thought made her look really cute. And I was like, and they kind of look like the 80s. And I was thinking in my mind, like, she just, as soon as she put those jeans on, she time traveled back to her peak. And she was like, I'm back. You know what I mean? Like, I'm back, baby. I got these jeans on. I got my
feeling
good hair.
herself.
Yeah, she was feeling herself. So I was pumped. And I was like, it's like those jeans are a time machine for her, she just goes back. And so the next day, I don't know. When I was entering in that song, I just typed in Blue Jean Time Machine because it rhymed in my head. And so then I typed that.
Back to that booty in the jeans.
Yeah, that's where my brain was. And I sent it to you. And then when you came back with the chorus, a Blue Jean Time Machine, that's when I had to have a talk with you like, hey, that title is just some dumb thing that I had in my head that for the file. And now you're going to write the whole song off this thing?
All right, so I'll tell you where that came from on my end. So you wrote that Blue Jean Time Machine. And my wife has a clothing company. What's up, CalebCobra.com? It's a little shameless self-promotion. That's what we call that in the industry. And but she has models that come over to the house every once in a while, you know what I mean? So I'll come home and go out in my garage and there'll be little butt marks on the hood of my Mustang in the dust, you know what I mean? Where like these models have been posing it off, but they're always doing like posing on my chopper and stuff like that, and it just pulled me back to like the centerfolds of the Easy Rider magazines and stuff like that. So as soon as you wrote Blue Jean Time Machine, because I got Easy Riders and old ones and stuff just scattered around for reference for tattoos and whatnot, and yeah, that's where I came up with that. All of a sudden, I was just like, oh, that'd be a good one. You know what I mean?
So explain to me this. Okay, I also not the lyrics. I don't want you to have to go lyric by lyric because I feel like that's just weird, right? But the vibe of that song when is it about a girl or just about a way a girl is feeling? Because you come out right away like this chick is bad, right? So I know that you're not talking about anyone other than your gorgeous wife, but I mean, is it like, is it just her, just the vibe or whatever? Like, I don't know how you came up with those, with just that theme of those lyrics.
Okay, so just an overall thing, how I write songs are usually, I always find it more interesting to not stick with a particular point of view or a particular, I don't try to like pigeonhole myself in one direction, right? So I'm sure like the first part of the course would be the guy's point of view looking at the girl being like, oh my goodness, like that's something I want a shot at the title, you know what I mean? And then without having the lyric sheet in front of me, which is kind of silly, I should do that. But I try to hit it from all the different directions and then just like maybe an overview of like that girl's like the Blue Jean Time Machine. And then it just cuts back and forth in there.
See, that's just kind of counterintuitive. Yeah, that's kind of counterintuitive. I think a lot of people, they're just like, wait, whose point of view is this from? Who's saying this or, whatever, where you're more like, well, at first I think he's talking to her and then she's kind of talking back at him. And then, so it's like changing points of view, but the lyrics they still sound cohesive. And I think they still make sense to me.
In my opinion, when I'm writing country songs, it's very important since the words and the lyrics are this thing that the people lean on the most. Um, to have, you got to stay on point. You got to have a theme. You got to stay on point because people will get confused really fast when they have to go, wait, what's going on? Well, the rock music, you got your, some people don't even listen to the words at all. You know what I mean? And yeah, right.
I
So
really don't. Lyrics are the
you can
last thing I
jump
listen
around
to.
a little bit, and as long as it sounds and it's you're feeling it and you're driving, then it doesn't really make that much of a difference, I don't think. Uh, but it is good to have a theme, overall theme, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like just kind of, I mean, I feel like this song does have an overall theme, and I will say, like, when you were in the studio with me, you, and Chris Keene, just recording vocals for this, right? I had already heard the vocals, like your demo vocals, so I knew how it was going to go. But your first line of this song just knocked me on my ass. I was laughing so hard. I just could. I mean, me and Chris were in tears, dude. We were laughing so hard. Like we had never, because in the studio, we all take ourselves seriously in our band. We're just trying to get it right. And oh man, your lyrics just knocked us out. Like it just reminded us immediately of who we were working with. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is clearly a Shelby session because we're in here like in tears. And then I remember during the bridge too. It's isn't this the classic "Ass, Gas, or Grass"? No one rides for free. Is that this song? Yeah, right. So I during the bridge, so you could maintain your thing. I was singing that line, and I was like, I was in there, getting a mic level check, like da da da, and then I started singing it, and I was like, only Shelby Cobra would have me in here singing "Ass, Gas, or Grass." No one rides for free in a professional studio environment. That's what I'm in here doing. Like your
So
lyrics on this song got me.
the ass grass or gas line, that line in particular, we go back and forth sending emails to each other. I mean, that's how we were building these songs. And I remember that time you sent it back, and I'm like, what should I do with this bridge, dude? Do you want me to sing over it? Do you want me to add something? Should we just let the music take it on its own? You know what I mean? And my wife had just made a shirt that said "Ass Grass or Gas." ... And I was just looking at it and said, "No one rides for free." And then we threw that little, what do you call those? Rounds, you know what I mean? Where the
Yeah,
lyrics
kind
are
of a.
overlapping each other a little bit.
Mhm.
So,
But man, well, that bridge was really cool, and I didn't know what we were gonna do with it. I like the riff. I'm not like feeling myself on the riff or whatever, but I liked it. I just thought it was a cool change for the song. You know what I mean? And
mm-hmm.
so I didn't. I have since I think about the lyrics and the vocals so little because I know that's in your world, so I just don't even waste my time with it. I never think about it. But I do remember thinking like, what's he gonna do with that bridge? Because it's a pretty big kind of left turn, you know. And
Right.
then when you came up with that, I was like, of course, he came
We're
up
going to
with
be all right.
something. Yeah, we're gonna be all right, man. It just cracked me up again. Your lyrics on this, I think, I don't know if they're the funniest on the whole record, but they definitely had me cackling in the studio like like a kid in class, or just I was like literal tears, man. I was dying. It was
I'm not
hilarious.
going to lie. It was a little difficult in the studio. Like, you guys don't have the mic button pushed all the time, but I'm trying to sing. And then I see you guys falling out like a couple dudes watching an internet video, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It was great. It pumped me
I
up for
know.
sure.
We tackled each other. We were just laughing so hard. Like when you're laughing so hard, you just start punching things. Like ah. That's how we were. We were laughing so hard. It was hilarious, man. We were dying, and I think that's also a theme of this record, though, that gets me hyped up. Is it's rude and crude and hilarious, and it's like you don't take yourself seriously as a person. Like these lyrics are kind of they're funny and all that stuff, but the music you took very seriously. So it's like that combination of like, hey, I'm just letting it fly, but I'm gonna make it sound dope. That I think that sticks with me the whole record.
Yeah, I mean, this might get a little political here. I don't, I'm not getting into politics, but the way I think about things is that I'm always writing my song from another person's perspective. So I'll say it almost like I'm in a character. You know what I mean? Along the same veins as like when Leonard Skinner wrote Sweet Home Alabama, he always said that he was trying to write it like from his uncle's point of view, who was like a when he talked about like not caring about Neil Young and stuff like that. He's like, I like Neil Young, you know what I mean? He's like, but I'm writing it from that everyday's perspective of like, we don't need you around here type of attitude. So I'm not personally invested in all this kind of stuff. I don't walk around talking like that. Like she's so fine, it's all that kind of shit. You know what I mean? But it's rock and roll, baby. You got to put that stuff in there, and you got to use some cuss words. You got to say some things that'll get people's attention. That's how it works.
That's what I like. It's like it came from that character's point of view, and that character just letting it fly. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that doesn't mean that you're letting it fly. It's just like that character. That's how they would say it, and they would say
Right.
like hilarious stuff like that. And and I can imagine like the chick, because I came up with that title, or that Blue Jean Time Machine, and that girl who was feeling herself in the jeans. I always imagine like some dude seeing her and being like, "Damn," and like that's that kind of interaction almost. I don't know. And
Right.
yeah, I just love it that it just,
Well, okay.
I'm
So
so much more
one
conservative
last.
with my music. I don't know. And you're just like, I'm going to say the rudest, crudest shit ever. It's going to be awesome.
Well, one last thing on that point too, right? I'm a huge ZZ Top fan. You know that. I don't know if everybody knows that, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you turn on Huey, AC/DC, or ZZ Top, and I'll be good. And Billy Gibbons always writes songs that could be chauvinist, but he's always got the female in the power position, and I love that. You know what I mean? Because women are smarter, they smell better. I know this, they know this. You know what I mean? So it's just like a dumb dog going after something he wants. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm writing my crude songs from that point of view.
I actually, that is another theme or kind of through line of the whole record. I think you did that really, really well for the whole record. But this song specifically, this song is another one of those, yeah, where the subject of the song, the girl, the female, she's definitely running shit. Like she's definitely
Yeah,
the one that's in charge. And that I think is like,
absolutely.
it balances it out where it's not just some rude, crude drunk guy like cat calling some chick. It's like, he just seems kind of like when she's in the power position, it makes him just seem kind of like a chump and funny and charming. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't,
Right.
but if it was strictly from the male's point of view, I think, yeah, it would sound kind of chauvinistic and like just kind of tired, but the way
Sure.
you do it, it's hilarious because
I mean, I would
she's running
say,
the show.
I would say in real life, 95% of my marriage is my wife rolling her eyes at me going, this guy, dude. You know what I mean? And it's probably the same way with a couple girls listening to the lyrics of the song. However, put a little tequila in there, homie. She's gonna be dancing. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah, hey, my wife, I think, is going to have her eyes like medically removed from the back of her head for rolling at me so hard all the time. Like, oh my Lord, you. But guess what? We got 2 kids somehow, right? Come on.
Some worked.
Sometimes it works. There's a reason that guys act like idiots. Is every once in a while it works. We can break through. You know what I mean? Every once in a while she likes me.
This is your show, but can I ask you how did you come up with that look, that lick? I think it's huge.
Uh,
Instant I heard that thing, I was like this.
I,
I was on one.
I have to say that was the first time in a while. So the first time I played in that specific tuning, like with just my whole guitar was down a half step, right? Standard style, down a half step.
Z.
Yeah, not really crazy, crazy low like we do in Arm for Apocalypse. And even in the first song that you and I wrote, I still dropped that top string, down. So it's like that drop D style. But I tuned this one up just to standard and it was down, and it made me like want to play kind of bluesy riffs because I thought like, man, the blues just sounds so much heavier, even just a half step down. And that's what got me noodling on that riff. And when I first wrote it, I don't know I write riffs for the drums a lot. I play guitar like a drummer, and it sounds weird to say, but so the first version of that riff didn't have a groove to it. And what tied it all together was when I added the little lick on the end, the down, now, 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 like, and that's where it circled back around. Then the drums could just groove to it, and it made it sound way bigger for me. So that just came from like noodling and playing the blues and thinking of things like ZZ Top, for you, like just something that we like a language we had in common was, kind of
Yeah,
like that ZZ Top style blues, more modern blues,
yeah.
I guess is what you would call it. Like, I don't know. So
All
I
right.
just thought like, man, if I did that, that could be cool. That sounds like Shelby would wreck it.
So let's double back to that sentence that you just said. That double back ZZ Top reference. Good song. Um, you said you play guitar. Or you write your riffs like a drummer.
Right.
Good. Talk to me about that.
Well, I think it's kind of weird. I think I'm more naturally talented. I don't want to use the word talented, but drums make more sense to me
I'll be the
naturally.
judge of that.
They do, but like, so I'll tell you why I think that is. If I hear a song, and I have to play drums for that song, I could just listen to it once or twice, and I could probably go and have a practice or play a show without really stressing over it too much, as long as it's not something crazy, but pretty basic stuff. But guitar, I really have to work at guitar, right? And so I just love like groove, I love rhythm and all that stuff. So that comes easier to me. So I don't write a single guitar riff without thinking about what the drums are doing. So
Okay.
the whole time I'm just that's how I play guitar, and I'm even if the notes are there, I'm still just thinking like a drummer. So I play with a lot of rhythm, and that's probably why I'm not a lead guitar player. I don't care about the noodly stuff. I care about the groove. And
Right.
so that's how I write riffs. I write riffs for the drums.
Yeah, I dig it. That's cool.
And what's funny? You'll probably notice this if we ever wrote together in a live situation, like in a room, is I feel like I can write better sometimes as a drummer because like physically I can feel where the song needs a change. It just
Yeah.
it just makes more sense to me where I'm like, ooh, we should kind of spice it up a little bit here. We should change the tempo, or we should just keep it straight because this feels so good. I sometimes when I'm on the drums, I can feel it better.
Right. I get that. Absolutely. So, I mean, this is not this band, but with my country band, that's a really big thing because if we don't have monitors, they can't hear what I'm saying because so much of the way I write my lyrics and stuff like that drives the song, right? So for the boys to follow along, you can get lost really easy with three chords in the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. But if you have the lyrics, it's a lot easier to know where the changes are coming. It's a lot easier to know where your little hits and accents are going to come. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying when it comes to the rhythm and the feel and the groove.
Well, even the verse of this song, I just wanted the guitars to get out of the way for you and the drums.
Right.
So I was just like, da da da, and I just imagined like the drummer and you locking in, and
Sure.
if you're ever in that situation live too, where things drop out for a little bit and it's just the vocals and the drums, I feel like it strikes you. It always strikes me anyway,
Sure.
and then because when the guitars and everything comes back in, it sounds so big. And I have a problem with covering up the drums with too many notes sometimes. Just like you said to me before, sometimes you just say too many lyrics, and you're covering up the music, and you got to
All the
work to
time.
dial it back. Yeah, so I consciously was like, I'm going to get out of the way for Shelby for the verses. And
Right.
then, so that's why I just try to leave as much space for you in the drums as possible because that's like the heaviest groove. I love it.
So we've talked about this off the podcast a lot, but like we concentrate a ton on the dynamics as far as like, you know, low lows and high highs, right? And that's what's gonna the only thing that when you're listening to something on a cassette tape, the only thing that's gonna make the chorus sound three times as loud is if it's that much more high energy than the verse was. You know what I mean? And then that's like that ACDC formula where you got drop out for a little bit and let the dude take care of it and then come in heavy, right? And let everybody sing along with it. The other thing is like I've always appreciated the fact that it doesn't take much to make a really good rock and roll song. And Tom Petty was a genius at that, right? I mean, you could have next to nothing as far as music goes, boo, boo, gah, but everybody in that stadium would be jumping up and down and bobbing their head. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
I'm not anywhere close to Tom Petty, but it would be nice to. I mean, if you're going to copy somebody, you copy the greats. You know what I'm saying? Try to get there.
Yeah. I mean, they copied from someone too. And Tom Petty probably heard some great rock songs and then was like, I'm going to get rid of that extra stuff. And that's what made him him, right? And with us, it's the same thing. We're just trying to use these little common influences or common reference points that we have, like, hey, I'm just going to get out of the way, like AC/DC or like Tom Petty or somebody like that.
So some of my favorite parts of when we're writing music, so we'll lay this whole song out, then we go, okay, me, you, and Chris Keen will be in that thing, and we're like, what do we need or what do we not need? Like we rip it all back apart. You know what I mean? Be like, there's too much going on there. There's not enough going on here. You know what I mean? So you just you get the thing you think is laid out, and then you go, nah, strip it down. You said too much. You did too much. We didn't do enough. I love that because that's when
That
the
is,
meat and potatoes start going.
I totally agree, because the song it sounds like it's 99% done, right? We just did all the tracks that we had listed: guitar, bass, drums, vocals. Those are all done. But then it's like, okay, this last verse, or this last chorus, what's gonna elevate it? Do we need any other sounds, or can we take away something during a verse to make that last chorus sound bigger? And it's those little changes at the end that always leave. I walk out of the studio hyped up every time,
Right.
because it sounds like a song, and it doesn't have to be mixed and mastered all part perfectly or whatever. It's like just with those parts right there on any medium, your iPhone speaker or your big sound system, I feel like it'll translate if we do that right. And I
Sure.
always get super hyped. I always get super hyped walking out of the studio. Those are my favorite sessions. They can be like a little bit draining sometimes, because you're on the spot and you're like, hey, think of something brilliant right here, But
Well, thinking hurts.
for me, oh my Lord, yes. But those parts, when we're done, I'm always like, the song's killer. This song is awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And that's
sometimes
when
I'll revisit the tracks that we, because there's a lot of revisions that we do up to the point before we get a finished thing. And sometimes you'll misname a file, open up one of the old ones, and you realize how far you've come from what you started with. You know what I mean? And
oh,
you're
that's
like, shit, I thought that was done a month ago, and that sounds like garbage. Now it's awesome. You know what I mean? So,
and
but
it's
it's good to
little
reflect on
tweaks.
that too. Yeah.
It is dude, it is. And sorry I interrupted you there. I didn't mean to, but it is really good sometimes to look back at the demo you thought was complete and where the song ends up. And most of the time, it's not like some big change. It's just like we made a little tweak, and then a little tweak, and then another little tweak, and then another little tweak. And you look back and you realize how far those little tweaks took you. And you're like,
Sure.
oh, every one of them now, if you took, and I think that's what's cool about us is, like, I feel like every one of them, if you took them back, that song wouldn't work.
Sure. Let me give you a really good example of that right there too. In my tattoo shop, I got my stereo system all set up, and the speakers are like in the corner of each room, so it's the stereo is big in there. You can hear one thing coming from one side or the other. Well, one of them broke. I'm listening to AC/DC one day, and all of a sudden, the lick that I love doesn't happen because it was in that speaker over on the left hand side of the room, right? But I'm like, man, probably in every single song, everybody's hearing something different, and they're waiting for that little part. And if that little part ain't there, the song's ruined for them. Like, oh man, what happened? You know what I mean? So like, it's just all those little things can make it or break it.
That's a really, really great point. And if you listen to AC/DC, you would also think, like, they don't do much production wise, right? They just put the mics up, but it's the every part feels necessary, especially if you hear a song without it. Then you're like, oh, I could not live without. That's not the same song. That's what's so cool about that band, and just
We
I think
did.
music in general.
I mean, me and you did that while we were working on that Huey cover, and that just those little organ hits, the stuff that you don't think you hear, you're hearing it. Bah, 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 bah. They make so much of a difference when they're not there or when they are there.
Well, because you play the riff right, and you got all the parts, and you're like, this sounds flat as hell. Bam, 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 and you're like, here we go. That's the song. But isn't that weird? Like, that little part is the song. It turns out to be the song. Like, you can't live without it. It's not the same. It's so weird. I also I just want to say, like, the bridge of this song when it goes into the halftime thing. I don't know, just with your vocals or whatever. One of my favorite parts of the whole record.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. There's just like a groove to it, and the way what you did with the vocals, where they sounded really, you started off with your thing, and then we did the round, and it just has this really cool build up to
Yeah.
the last chorus where it drops down into one guitar. It's one of my favorite little sections of the whole record.
I'm a huge fan of whenever you put like a huge drop section in the song, especially if it's cooking and then it just cuts the, you cut the knees out from somebody and just, oh my God, I love it. I'm just picturing in my head like the crowd lining up on each side and, it's great.
Wall of Death at a country show. No, I just that part was really fun to work on because I used like an octave pedal to make it sound when the drums went halftime. It made it sound even. Try to just make it build up like each starts off with like guitar, then guitar and drums, and then guitar 2, and then I put an octave pedal on one of the guitar, then it did an overdub, and then your vocals are building up, and like that section. I was a little confused going into the studio, but when it was done, that's like one of the gems of the record to me is on this song, Blue Jean Time Machine.
Right on.
So hey, yeah, let's finish this up. Episode, what is this? Episode 3, the Green Truck Records podcast. Doing the song Blue Jean Time Machine with my guest Shelby Cobra of Cobra Hunter.
Thanks for having me, Cale. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. A long-time listener, first-time caller. Thanks a lot for tuning in, y'all.
That on my